Good afternoon, what is a cool, bright and sunny day. It is Thursday, the 16th of January, and I'm in the reading a nice cup of tea. And a box to continue unboxing. What I've got in here is Victory at Sea by Paul Kennedy. Naval Power and the Transformation of the Global Order in World War II. Let's have a look. Basically says that Paul Kennedy is the J. Richardson Dilworth Professor of History and Director of International Security Studies at Yale University. He is the author or editor of more than 20 books, including The Rise and Fall of the Great Powers. And Ian Marshall, fellow and past president of the American Society of Marine Artists, as well as a member of the Royal Society of Marine Artists. He wrote and illustrated numerous works, including armour ships and ironclads and paddlers, and this has got paintings by him in this book. So, let's have a look. As you can see, sort of like the first of those paintings here. This is published by Yale University Press. Look at the contents page. And a full listing of all the paintings in the book by Ian Marshall. Got a list of all the maps. And the charts and tables. And then we're into the preface. Flip through that. Part 1, setting the stage. Sea Power and the Sweep of History. Now, the whole reason for me picking this up, basically one of the books I picked up in the sale, I just thought I don't know a great deal about naval sea power, certainly not modern stuff, and certainly not in World War II per se, whereas my interests have always been sort of like in the European War and so on, partly because it's so very close. And this is sort of like, we'll look at the wider sweep of sort of like the war in terms of the naval battles that took place during the period, during the conflict. So it's a chance to educate myself a bit beyond what I know. Whereas my interest has always been sort of like, I have to be honest, Hornblower. I still enjoy the Hornblower books a lot, and that period of history and those kinds of adventures. So I've got a section here, sort of like basically looking at the warships and navies before the conflict, before 1939, noting that navies in the era of restrictions, essentially you have London Treaty of 1920. I think restricted sort of like naval capabilities between the war, and then of course you would have had the Versailles Treaty, which have restricted the German naval growth during the period as well, and that certainly would be broken in the later war. And there was always a great fear of, certainly as far as the Royal Navy was concerned, of sort of like a renewed German Navy. But I mean, the other thing is, of course, is that throughout, like during the 20s and 30s, sort of like all the navies would have practiced and theorised battles between the other powers, and that's also the sort of subject of any number of theoretical operations and concepts. There's the idea, sort of like. And that's also sort of been explored in war games as well. Various battles between powers that didn't happen, like a conflict between the US and Royal Navies in the Caribbean, for example, which could have happened, if you set it up right. Anyway, that's by the by. This is really dealing with the actual history of the period, and it's and how that played out. So geography, economics and geographical writing. So this is quite an involved and detailed book. Here we have sort of like discussion, sort of like the limitations of the Battle of the Atlantic in 1943. It's a basic discussion of sort of like the flow of British shipping to and from her colonies and overseas possessions, 1937. And then we've got the narrative of the Great Naval War, starting in 1939 through to 42. Shots of sort of like ships leaping into port, heavily damaged, being repaired, and so on. Basically, being painted. Some actually terrific paintings in here. And we've got the northern routes of the Allied convoys, the Arctic convoys, which took supplies up over the top of Norway to Murmansk and Archangel in Russia, sort of like part of the sort of like the Lend-Lease program, which supplied Russia with sort of like more supplies during the conflict. So just flipping through just to see what's in here. I'm looking forward to sort of like giving this a read in due course when I can. Essentially, you've got tables, things like this chart of the merchant tonnages built and sunk 1940-1945. Just the amount of ships built to support the war and then just lost through the war, through the submarine packs, so on. Shifting, of course, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, we've got the general thrust of the American drive across the Pacific to take back the territories captured by the Japanese. But of course, take into account the D-Day landings and how much naval support is required for that, which is a lot. Basically providing bombardment, coverage of the support for the landing craft, and blockading any attempt at German attack by naval forces, which obviously didn't have a lot of it. So, and then we've got basically a couple of appendices. One basically looking at things like the pivotal year of the war, 3 measures, just extra content. Notes, basically footnotes. And then we have, looked past it, of course, bibliography, and the index. So yeah, this will be an interesting introduction, I think, to just reading about naval warfare during World War II. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box containing a book or game or role-playing supplement, in this case, a history of naval warfare during World War II and its consequences, then all, of course, accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook, and we'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.